We're recording. Hello, this is Healing for Healers. And I have little girl, excitement because it's Mary Smith. And it's like, oh my God, she's entered my meeting room. It's actually here. You're actually here, Mary.
I'm real live in the
You're a
flesh on
real.
the other side of the world.
So I'm just going to read Mary's bio for those of you that don't know her. Mary Smith is the premier Facebook marketing expert and social media thought leader, often referred to as the Queen of Facebook. Mary Smith's one of the most foremost experts on Facebook marketing. I learned so much from your book, actually, and it was one of the first things that I absorbed and made real for me. Um,
Oh,
Mar- Mary's background includes almost 2 decades in the fields of online, offline, and relationship marketing, um, and internet technology. As a passionate social media leader since 2007, Mary travels to the USA and internationally to provide engaging social media keynotes and in-depth training to entrepreneurs and corporations. And I just want to throw a few names out there just for people to be really impressed. Mary often shares prestigious stages with leaders and celebrities, including Sir Richard Branson, the Dalai Lama, Eckhart Tolle, Tony Robbins, and Paula Abdul. Now, I don't know who Chip Conley is, but I have heard of Ariana Huffington. So we're really, really blessed and honored to have you on here on my humble little podcast. But
oh, my pleasure.
it's really great. What I thought I'd do just for fun is read out a couple of the first few things I ever shared from you. So this one is
Okay.
13th of October 2012, where Mari says, "We emoticons now work in the comments anywhere on Facebook. You should try them out." So I think I've been following you before we even could put emojis in our comments, and now you can
Oh,
like and. So here's one from the 30th of September 2013. Wait for this one. Did you know there are as many as 100,000 individual components in the Facebook newsfeed ranking algorithm? So if there was 100,000 components in 2013, how many are there now?
oh, yes. Very good
But
point.
the last one I want to share, which is really interesting, is from the 28th of June, 2014. Facebook tinkered with users' feeds for a massive psychology experiment. Whoa. How does this make you feel? Scientists at Facebook published a paper showing that they manipulated the content seen by more than 600,000 users in an attempt to determine whether this would affect their emotional state, and it does.
Yeah.
So, and that's
Big thing.
2014, and I think it's very, pertinent and important and relevant to why so many healers at the moment are not really wanting to use social media. So I believe it's still very important. And I believe it's how you engage with it. And I thought it'd be great to have you on and hear your thoughts around that, and maybe go into yourself as
Mm.
moving into healing modalities too. And
Yes.
it's wonderful. So
Thank
yeah,
you.
where would we start?
Thank you so much. I think what's connecting in the dots in my mind is I have actually shared a post of yours in a couple of my classes, and I believe it was last year, Abby, where you were really contemplating whether to stay on Facebook or not. Like it was real, like kind of like a moral issue. And I think you took a short break, and then I just loved it. I can feel it in my heart, my gut, where you were like, I realized I can't leave Facebook because you all are here, right? My
Yeah.
tribe is here, my community is here. And I feel exactly the same way. Well, not quite exactly, because I don't think I've ever like really contemplated leaving Facebook. I can't. I mean, I could, but it would like some consequences. But I really resonated with the part of like, hey, I'm not about to abandon you all. We've spent years building up this connection. And that has been one of, I would say, the secrets to my own. I was going to insert the word success, but I want to call it just like staying true to my path and encouraging others to do the same. It's everybody's path, not always, alike. And that is that, you just read a pretty heinous thing, tinkering people's emotions intentionally, and that's fairly mild, quite frankly, compared to some of the other things that have happened, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But for what I've always done since the day I got on Facebook, which is May the 4th, Star Wars Day of 2007, and I literally put like the blinders on, or blinders, the things that horses wear, and I just stay focused on the positive, the good elements and aspects of Facebook and other social platforms, but mostly Facebook and Instagram, but that really serve us. Like the groups. I love the groups feature. I like my personal profile. I'm choosing right now not to switch it to the professional mode. We can get into that if it's relevant. But right, I did for 6 months last year, and then I pivoted and went back to classic. But I mean, I'm aware of a lot of the shenanigans that goes on, but I think that it's a mixed bag, Abby. It's not like we can just say that, oh, Facebook, oh my God, I'm never going to use it again. It's so terrible. It's like, but oh dang, that's the primary place I connect with my mother in Canada, or my sisters in Scotland, or also Canada. My family spread out all over. I've got friends that I've known since elementary school that I only really connect with through Facebook. And so those are some of the aspects on a personal basis. But then on a business basis, yeah, there's amazing ways that we can create this like top of mind awareness. You do an amazing job of like almost like an energy transmission. When I see some of your posts in my feed, and you'll be like, I've infused this, it'd be like some flowers or a beautiful meadow or something, like I've infused this with blessings, and you put a beautiful invocation on there, and like I like it, kind of like it shifts my state. I can feel it coming through my screen.
I love it that you follow me. I know that was great. So we've been following each other for a while. I
Right.
also do a thing, Mary, where I sit in it for a moment and I say, let me see what I need to see. And then I open
Mm.
Facebook and see what I need, and then I finish and I close it down. So I do think there's so much
Wow.
good out there, and there's so many people who've made connections that they wouldn't otherwise have made from there. I've got Facebook friends for years and years that we've met in real life. And what's scary and yet wonderful is that the way you think they feel when you meet them on computer is how they actually feel when you meet them in real life.
Yes.
It's just, yeah, it's
Yeah. In the
amazing.
early days when I was mostly, I mean, I was always active on Facebook, but also on Twitter. When back in the day when Twitter used to be real chatty, Twitter was more about like building relationships. And I would call it exactly what you just described. I would call it virtual rapport. So you spend, it could be months, could be years of building this virtual rapport. And the moment you meet someone in person, and maybe it's different for other people, maybe it's just how we're kind of made up or something, but yeah, I'll see someone from across the room. I'm like, oh, I know you. And then you're like, wait a minute, we've never met. And you just instant bond, a big hugs or whatever, right? And it's like, wow, we've already established that foundational rapport.
It's amazing. Actually, I put a picture up because I've just published my third of three novels, and I was trying to
Wow,
make them into
congrats.
my cover picture for my profile, right? And I made a
Yeah.
comment on the cover picture and I said, it's really difficult to get a very attractive photograph of three books, especially when they're this big. I got a
Yeah.
private message in Facebook Messenger this morning from someone who said, I'm a photographer and I don't have too much to do at the moment. If you want to send them to me, I can take some pictures for you. And I don't even know who she is. That's the beauty
That's
of
so
it.
cool.
So
Yeah.
if you, hey, Facebook family, I need your help. Can anyone tell me about this? Can anyone tell me about that? And I think to maybe sit with the fear around it and ask yourself what that is for anyone who's listening.
Mm, yeah. Yeah. These social channels can cultivate a lot of fear, Abby. And the biggest one absolutely is FOMO, fear of
Fear of
missing
missing
out.
out.
Big time.
Yeah,
Big
I can
time.
see the
And
sun is
it,
coming in and hitting against me. I might
oh,
just.
I thought you just had really great lighting.
That's the sun is coming. It's the time of day. It's just.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
fear of
So
missing out.
yeah, but you know what? So first of all, like Facebook and all of these big tech social companies, they have literally been designed working with psychologists. So when you see the notification, the little bell, and it has a red number, any red, the mind is programmed to associate red with like danger, alarm, fight or flight. We need to do something. I noticed myself on my phone, I can't stand notifications. You ever seen somebody, you ever sat next to someone that has a phone and they have like their email notifications is like 10,612, and you're like,
Oh, I can't do
how
it.
the F do you deal with that? To me, that would just drive me bonkers. Like I can't have any like notifications that are not, tended to. And so, Facebook knows that. If anybody here, your viewers have ever, your listeners have ever watched the documentary that came out in 2020. It's called The Social Dilemma. Brilliant. I watched it twice. In fact, I reinstated my long lapsed Netflix subscription because I just don't do much TV. And I reinstated it just so I could watch that documentary. And it was so good. And they literally talk about how these programs are designed, these platforms are designed to make us addicted. And so back to the FOMO part, it's like, oh my God, what if somebody's posted something and I didn't see it? What if a friend is like, oh, what if there's notifications and the mind goes, it's crazy. Well, I love to flip that acronym to JOMO, JOMO, which is the joy of missing out. And that you can take back control and just recognize that you're being manipulated, you're being controlled. All of these psychological ways that these, because they're trying to pull back eyeballs. The eyeballs are monetizable. The longer our eyeballs are staring at screens, the more ads and whatever they can shove in front of us. So it's like you get to decide, as a sovereign human being, you know what? Like, I love what you just said. I'm going to try on that practice of doing a little intention or invocation and really tuning into spirit and saying, okay, let me see what I'm supposed to see, or let me see what's additive or valuable, or who can I
And
help
then you
today,
come
or
up on my
something like
feed
that.
then when I do that.
Oh, I love it. We're dialed in.
But I think, there's a lot of people now. It's really interesting because I know you're aware of the energetics of the times that we're in, and people are leaving their old ways of life and stepping into new ways of life. So there's a lot of healers who are really good, who are just beginning to step up as healers, and they're starting off their practice because that's probably what they're going to end up doing for the next 20 years. So
Nice.
it's like, where would they start if they were going to start from scratch?
With social media marketing, with
Yeah,
having an online presence.
having an online
Yeah.
presence.
Well, because healers, generally speaking, are so in tune with energy, with their own, others, and it can be draining to be in front of a computer screen. I'm sitting in front of a 27-inch iMac right now. It's a big screen. I can only take it for so long, and then I'll go to my smaller screen, or not the phone, but like a laptop. But I do know that I can feel it behind my sternum at times, where I'm like almost like a burning, and it's like, okay, I've had enough, and I all the EMF stickers and all of that. So some of the things that you could do to start a brand new, not a new healer, but a person relatively new to online marketing, is just to begin with a presence. And that could be a simple website. It could be Instagram as your jam. It could be a Facebook page. It could be a personal profile. It could be a Facebook group. What else might it be? It could be a third party platform. I started a new community last year using Mighty Networks. And if some folks are just really not that keen on really leaning into some of these big social sites, you could still kind of use them to have, to drive, or to create awareness about a third party platform that you might be using. Mighty Networks, like I mentioned, is a super good one. It's kind of like we wish Facebook would be. So it's just a calm, no noise, no nonsense, no ads, and you can connect with people and make friends and share content and whatnot.
Okay, so can
So
you pick up new people from there, or is it as like isolated communities?
it's like being inside a Facebook group. So the
Okay,
way to connect with new people would be, so long as there's fresh members coming in, because typically they're all closed communities.
right.
So like people would have their own. So I'm just thinking of like the third party using a platform like Mighty Networks instead of a Facebook group, but still having a Facebook page and or profile. You kind of have to have a profile in order to create a page, but the business page is the real public one. But now it's getting confusing because Facebook's introduced this new mode called professional mode, where you can convert your personal profile into what they're calling professional mode, designed for creators, and you get access to insights and some of the boost, like you can hit the boost button and pay a little
What is
money
it
to.
like having a Facebook page out of your profile?
Yeah, it really is. And some people are doing amazing with it and gathering massive amounts of followers, because Facebook's like, so long as they're doing reels, if they're doing those short form
Oh,
videos, the
yes.
vertical they're now up to 90 seconds. They were 60, but they're 90. And so, and then that begets the question of like, well, what if I'm not comfortable on camera? You don't have to do videos of yourself on camera. They could be a montage of photos, they could be using B-roll, they could be you narrating some images on screen, just so long as it's the output is video. And so if we back up a minute and go, okay, where was someone brand new, a healer brand new to social media marketing, is like one presence, thinking about starting with one presence. And for some people, they just prefer Instagram because it might be just a lot simpler and it's just mostly on the phone. You've got a desktop version, but it's mostly the phone. So then the next step is really, well, you know what I like to teach, Abby, is my very simple 3-part formula. Content all starts with content.
Mm.
Nobody's going to engage with a blank profile, a blank page, blank something. So you got to produce content. And we just talked a little bit about the reels, the short form videos, but you can intersperse with images. On Instagram, what works well is the carousel type. So you're doing, multiple where people swipe and go like this because people swipe and you just break that. Like if you have, let's say you had like 5 key points to make, don't cram them all into one little square image.
Yes.
Break it up into 5 individual squares and then people can just swipe to consume the content. Also, another thing too is you could just join and create a profile on any of these platforms and just start to follow people that you admire, other healers, other leaders, and get a sense of kinds of things that they post, what resonates with you, what doesn't. And you can absolutely emulate other people's style as long as you're maintaining your own. But so that's the first part, is content. All starts with content, videos and images and text.
You know what
And
I used to
then,
do? I used to find posts by people that I would disagree with,
oh
and
yeah.
I would repost them and explain why I disagreed with it. And then we'd
Oh,
have
you're
a
funny.
conversation, which is the
Yeah.
relationship marketing. And people will go, hang on a minute, why did I think you're right. And no, you're not right. But to just get the conversation going, to actually get the connections in, it's kind of cool doing that too.
That's fun. Yeah, people sometimes like a little bit of controversy and just debate in different opinions. Yeah, I like that. That's a fun strategy because that's the thing too with content. You can use what I call OPC, use other people's content. And you can
Yes.
certainly share that into your stories or your repost it as your main feed post. The next part is community. I used to say engagement, but engagement rates are kind of dropping a lot across most of the platforms. So engagement is one thing. You want some engagement, but don't get, such a big takeaway these days and put into all my talks, is how important it is to not get so caught up in those like public facing metrics. They sometimes call them vanity metrics. I call them
Was that like
proxy
how many
metrics.
likes you get? Is that what you
Yep.
mean?
How many people engage with your post, how fast you can grow your followings, and you'll see people, oh no, get 10,000 followers overnight, and here I'll show you how. And it's like, yeah, but are they the right followers? Are they people that are going to buy from you? Are they, even in the right country or whatever it may be? So community, and we were just talking about like groups or the mighty networks, or like where is your hub? Where is your main hub where you connect with people? If that's relevant, I don't know. I mean, what is it for you, Abby? Is it mainly your page? Do you have a group or do you have
I have a
a hub?
group, but I found in the last year or two that nobody was seeing any of my posts
Hmm.
in the group. So then I realized they have the at everyone tag, which is a really interesting one. And I've seen it used in groups that I'm in. So it's like my friend Jerry tagged you in a post, and I go to see, and he tagged everybody in the post, and you're allowed to do that once a
Yeah.
day, which is
Yep.
kind of interesting. But I think it also really depends on what you want to use it for. I would create a group for an active online program where the participants would come to the group and they could talk to each other, and then they could ask me questions and tag me if it was important. And I found the free flow was great there. But what's happened is the last time I did that, I did it on Telegram instead.
Oh yeah, you got a Telegram channel. Good for
So I have
you.
Telegram, and I made a special channel just for my bootcamp guys, and it was so fun, and it just felt really light and easy and bright, and there's no adverts getting in there, and
Yeah.
it just feels like there's a lot of scaffolding around the content, and they
Yeah.
kind of like that. So, but I mean, it is important to be there. It's important, and Instagram is actually really good to
Mm.
play with and to learn. And yeah, I'm finding a lot of people who are doing really well on Instagram are making Twitter posts, screen grabbing them, and then posting them on Instagram.
I've seen that too. It's so funny how the crosses over. Yeah. So this content community, wherever that might be for people. And I love that you brought up Telegram, because it could be Telegram. Some people use Discord, or even Slack, a Slack channel, or just there's a
I tried Slack as
circle.
well. I tried Slack.
Hmm.
People said, "Oh, this is too much like work in Slack because the
Yeah, there
Slack
you
is
go. Because it
corporate."
usually has a work application. Telegram is just nice and easy. Then you've got circle.so, or Kajabi. Some people have Kajabi. They have a whole,
Okay.
they Kajabi, the company, I think they acquired a community platform, and then they've integrated that right in. And so, because often you'll get a platform that houses courses, but then they don't really do community. And so that's why I
Mhm.
keep coming back to Mighty Networks, because their courses and community like fuse together. And there's a few others like that do it as well.
That's
And
interesting
then,
you say that, because I just have a new website and it came with a whole forum and groups facility. So people who join programs are automatically put into groups, but there's no activity there. It just kind of hangs there and doesn't do
yeah,
anything. Whereas if people are
yeah,
going on Facebook, say to talk to their sister or to post a picture for their friends, then they can just hop into the group at the same time. So
that's right. Yeah, they'll see their notifications. Yeah. Now, the third and most important part of my little 3-part evergreen formula: content is number one, community/engagement is number two. The third part is conversion. And this is when I'm doing consulting or social media audits for all kinds of different sizes of businesses and brands. It's often the number one missing piece from the equation, because I think there's this misunderstanding over many, many years now that if we just put stuff out there, people will know what to do, or that they're going to see it in context. They're going to come and see, because we look at our pages, we see our whole page, the cover and the about and the website and all the contact information, whereas people are seeing one post isolated in their feed. And so in essence, it's almost like a little standalone, not quite an advert, but a little promotional piece. It's going to add value. It's going to be something that people could share ideally, but there's no reason why not to include the call to action. By the way, did you know we have this group, or I got room for 3 more clients in my practice right now. Here's where to call, or tap this button and DM me, or come and join our community, whatever the call to action might be. And just a very soft sell. You're not going to start right away. I think that's why people get turned off putting CTAs, the calls to actions, because it's like, ooh, oh, you mean like buy my stuff, buy my stuff, buy my stuff. It's like, oh no, we can't do that. Social media, you can't sell on social media. And it's like, well, you kind of have to, because otherwise you'll just be having a hobby. You really want to have a business mindset, but at the same
yes.
time, as a healer, your audience is to be able to invite. It's almost like you're opening the doors and inviting, here's what I do and here's how I can help you. Here's the problem that you might be having in your life that I can help solve because of the skills that I have, the training that I've done, the gifts that, I can guide you with.
Yeah, one of the things I found most useful was the consistency of showing up
Yeah.
and finding my voice on social media to become an expert in what I do, so that
Mm-hmm.
people would come back to hear what I had to say on something. And then,
Yes.
I mean, I would get people booking in to have a session with me who've been following me for like 2 or 3 years
Yeah.
before they felt able to connect. And the beautiful thing was that they felt that they knew me the minute we opened the Zoom session. And
Nice.
so you could imagine in counseling or psychotherapy, people need to build up that relationship gradually with their therapist. All that stuff was done because they were on the social media. And so the sessions were explosive and catalytic and transformational, because I trust Abby and I know who she is and I'm ready to go. And so if that's the intention by being on social media, I think it's really helpful for healers to think, keep that in the back of their minds, to say, no, it's not going to
Mm-hmm.
be an instant sale, but at least
Yeah.
people are going to get, here I am, I'm on the map, I exist. This is what I think
Yeah.
about this. This is what I think about that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're absolutely right. And some people will buy right away. Some people are just more impulsive, or they just get that gut intuitive hit. They're like, bam, this is for me. Yep. Where do I sign up? But I know exactly what you mean. There's an aspect of where people it's timing. It's all about timing, right? Timing. I've had people on my email list similarly to what you just shared. Mari, I've been following you for 3 years, 2 years, whatever the number is. And, this is
Yes.
the first time I'm buying a course from you. I'm like, oh, cool. Well, welcome in, and just to qualify that for your listeners, it's not like you have to wait long periods of time. The goal here is to build the presence, as you just said, Abby, with finding your voice, and having that consistency is key. Because if you make a few posts and then you drop off and a few weeks go by and then you come back and do a few more, it's just like the algorithms are actually not going to pick up so much with you. And you mentioned earlier about how, you know, people were like they're like almost like bookmarking or favoriting your content, your page, and they're coming back to engage with you when you're live or you're posting your content. And the algorithms love that. They love it when people are like continually coming back to consume content from you know, one of the pages or creators, healers in this case.
That's
Let's insert
interesting.
another piece into the conversion too, is about emails. I'm sure you have an email list and send out regular newsletter, but it's such an important part. And I think even today, email marketing's been around for 30 years or something, but it's like, it's never gone out of fashion. It's never not been important, because, you know, people, it's like you've got this direct access to their inbox. Yeah, I know sometimes things go into promotions or even spam, so you've got to be mindful of that. But using a good, proven, reliable, you know, email platform, whatever it might be for folks, there's many choices out there. And to be able to have that ability to add more value, perhaps with a weekly newsletter. I wouldn't do monthly. It's not long enough. It's not, you know, frequent enough. But then you also have this ability when you're building up that similarly with the rapport and the relationship, is that now you can intersperse with your offers and your invitations and calls to actions. And, you know, here's where to sign up and book in with me, like you say.
We're really making a great case for it, aren't we?
Well, I know, but the thing is that a lot, I come across a lot of healers in my travels, and healers slash coaches, consultants, sometimes in a similar genre, where they're not necessarily that comfortable marketing and selling and putting themselves out there. So I feel like this part of the conversation here is really helping your audience to give them permission of this. You know, here's some basics of how it's done. It's not that difficult when you really just, you said the word consistent, just have that consistent presence and being yourself, and with that resonance, the right people will totally be attracted to you. They just need to know where you need to make it clear where they go to sign up, to book, to have a session, to purchase your course or whatever your offering is, right?
Yeah, and I think also people, I mean, I know I've trained some people in using social media, and you clam up because you think the whole world is about to read what you're writing. And so I said to one of my clients, I said, just write it like you're just writing it for me, and no one else is going
Mm,
to read it. So you're just
mhm.
going, you know, so you're not taking on the whole world with this post. You know, here's
Right.
my cup of coffee, here's the sun, it's a great day, I'm looking forward to the day. How are you doing? And to have, because you taught me this, engage
Mm,
by asking an open question and get people to
mhm.
come and write back. This is something that you taught me right at the beginning. So,
Nice. I
you know,
love
don't
it.
have a closed thing. This is a this. Say, okay, what are you drinking today? Or, you know, and just get that people
Yeah,
to come and engage with you. And then you start recognizing the names and they come back in, and
that's right.
making it as
Yeah.
easy as possible for yourself as well. One of the things also, Mary, is when you're healing, as you're learning, because you're becoming a healer yourself, it's about dropping all the masks and being your true authentic self. And that's the healing, is letting go of what is not you. And so you don't need to put a mask on when you're going on social media. You're just going on as you. And I think
Mm.
what's really freed me up is seeing everybody in their authentic self, just picking up the camera and going, I'm on my walk and I had this idea and I just want to make a video of it. And I started doing that too. And I don't care that my hair is in a bun and that I'm wearing, you know, whatever, I'm not wearing makeup. I don't usually wear makeup anyway. And to just get over yourself.
Yeah. Yeah, you're absolutely right. I hear you. It's sometimes easier said than done. And so for your viewers to know, my passion project for 2.5 years, and my third year now, is studying the human design system. Some folks probably in the healing world are familiar with, and it's basically a blend of Eastern Western astrology plus the Chinese I Ching or I Ching, the Book of Changes, the Kabbalah, chakras, but then it's also got genetics, biology, quantum physics, astronomy. It's kind of got like the esoteric and the exoteric, brilliant fusion synthesis that is the most accurate system. I hesitate to call it typing. Some people might think of it as a typing system. It's not a belief system. It's not a cult. So people think, wow, what's it? Is it you can have your chart run and then work with an analyst to get a reading done, and it's just astoundingly accurate. The most accurate system I've ever found on the planet to deeply and profoundly understand ourselves, to make decisions about our life that's fully resonant and correct with our form, with who we are in this lifetime, and equally to understand that other people are just different. And it's so impactful in both personal relationships as well as business. And so what you just described there about this authenticity and like chipping away at what we're not, so that the true self can really show up and shine through, and that's the self that's wanting to connect with the world, right? Or not the world, but your world, the world of people who resonate with you, or in human design they call it on your fractal. And so
I like that.
yeah, yeah, and I often think of it it's like Michelangelo when he was working on the statue of David, right? He's got this big lump of marble in front of him, and he just starts chipping away at everything that's not David, and David emerges from the marble. So that's the way I look at human design. It can take many, many years. They say it takes 7 years. The 7 years is the full cycle of how long it takes for the body to like regenerate its cells. And so once you enter into the human design experiment, they call it an experiment. Every day is an experiment. You just experiment with your body decisions and trying it on. And eventually you're disseminating or discerning, and you're able to distinguish between the not self. I call it the monkey mind. Our mind, we're so mindy for tens of thousands of years. We've been so mindy, right? Where we're entering into this new realm, this new phase of existence, where we have an opportunity to be less mindy and more in the body, occupying the form, and recognizing, oh my God, my form has intelligence. Like for me, I'm a sacral generator. And so my authority, my inner authority that makes decisions, is my sacral. It would probably be mapped to the second chakra. But in human design, there's nine centers, not 7 energy centers. And so, and if you see my chart, I have all these planets are up in my head, ajna, throat, all these activations. And my teacher calls me top heavy. I'm very mindy and heady. So I was like, when I first had my reading a few years ago, I was like, oh, looking down at my navel, right? Like, wait, my gut can make decisions, huh? So, but I love this. I just love this body of work and the power and the impact that it can have on the world. And it's starting to become quite a bit more mainstream. I think that more and more people are looking to learn, because there's a big change coming, and I can't even quite articulate it, but it's
Well,
happening
I
in the
heard
year.
it beautifully said today. A
Oh,
friend
you
of
did?
mine is Andrew Smith, who's an astrologer, and I was with him this morning.
Oh,
And
nice.
the way he put it was, there's a whole new, like a wing or a floor of the Akashic records that we've never had access to before has suddenly become available to us. And
Wow.
what you're talking about, this brand new healing, let's call it technology for want of a better word, seems to
Mm.
be an amalgamation of all of the stuff that we already have. But it's also, to me, as an energy sensitive, it feels like it was designed maybe off planet, and it was put somewhere in the Akashics for someone to download and put all the pieces together and go, oh look, this, we could do it this way, and to step into a more heart-centered world so that people can understand how they fit with the body and bring the body into more things. It's beautiful. And as you say, we're not all the same. So to have it on a chart mapped so beautifully, that's not focused completely on your brain and your intellect and the psychology, I think is a real step forward. It's
Yeah.
exciting.
It's very exciting. And the cool thing, it basically the imprint similar to astrology, but it's not astrology, because it takes an imprint of the main planets. There's 13 imprints, because it includes the nodes and north and south nodes of the moon, and then all the planets, including the Earth. And where the planets are, the moment of the separation from the mother is the moment of birth. But then also, what's so unique about human design is it takes an imprint 88 days before the child is born. And that is your unconscious. That is your form. That's your unconscious design, your body. And that's the part that also has this wisdom, and the imprints are coming from the neutrinos of the planets. So it comes to us and through us, right? We're constantly being penetrating, like even with astrology, wherever the moon is, we're that's why they call it the lunar cycle. Sometimes we can be lunatics. Yes, it comes from
It
lunar,
sounds
right?
like you're tapping into the quantum field at some level with this.
Well, I don't know if you know the origins, but it came about in the late 1980s. It was a gentleman who, at the time, his original name was Alan Robert Krakauer. He was from Quebec in Canada, and he'd found himself totally starting a whole new life on the island of Ibiza in Spain. And he had a totally different life. He was working as a teacher. I don't think he had a lot of money. He was just having an existence. He also was a musician, played and sang in a band, I believe. But then all of a sudden, he had in 1987, I think and it totally coincided with the death of a supernova. It was the biggest, brightest star that they could since the invention of the telescope, and you could see. And so, when this supernova, this bright star, it released this information
There
and
you go, off
penetrated.
world.
Yeah. And so Ra, he changed his name to Ra Uruhu. He was penetrated by a voice and had an 8-day mystical experience. He just was like otherworldly now. And when you look at his chart, you can see his body was designed to withstand the shock. And this voice, he literally called it the voice. The voice spoke to him, and he wrote it all down for 8 days and 8 nights straight. Apparently, it was the voice of the planet Earth, interestingly enough. So, but I think you're right. There's definitely an aspect of it. It's all the planets. It's otherworldly, but it's our galaxy. It's our universe.
Well, what's interesting in the rise of our consciousness, which is something that people who listen to my podcast would agree with, that we're discovering our origins might not be what we think they are. And all of this ancient aliens, I don't know if you heard all the scandal around Graham Hancock and the ancient apocalypse, where he feels that there were other races living here before us and that they had created all of these fabulous structures that men of the time that they were dated for, they didn't think they could possibly have the ability to create things like Gobekli Tepe and some of the stuff in the pyramids. Have you seen the hieroglyphs of the helicopters and spaceships in Egypt? Stuff like that,
Oh,
and trying
wow.
to match that up with what we've been told at school. So again,
Yeah.
it's like the Akashic saying, okay, we're going to open the door into this now and let the human beings in to see that there's more going on. And it's really exciting in a way.
Mm,
But I think your human design is allowing people to unlock another part of themselves that can then access this information. And from the way that the founder of it discovered it, it sounds very much that it was a gift given to us.
that's right. That's right. And you know what, Abby? It's for the children. Because most of us adults who are over 40, we're still kind of like long in the tooth, and we get very set in our ways. It can be difficult. It would be really difficult for us to radically transform and to let go of the not self and our conditioned ways of being. And we can, some of us, but the other thing too is to recognize not everybody is here to wake up. This knowledge is not for everybody. Would like it to be, sure, in a wonderful utopian world, have it be a panacea, but it's just not. Some people are just not here to wake up, and that's okay. But the children of the world, when this knowledge came in, it's really, and you and I dialogued a bit about this on email, of the magic. Could you imagine how amazing it would be that two parents who know themselves and their own unique imprint, design in this lifetime, how they operate best themselves and together, and they bring a child or children into the world, and now they're looking at their charts and understanding, okay, wow, this little person is very different from us. Here's how we can interact and interface and encourage and have them bring out the full gifts of their skills and talents that they were born with,
That's
rather
right.
than
You
like,
said that to
why are you
me, or
not more like me?
you said that, I think it was in a YouTube that you did, and I had a vision of the Pleiades and a school for young Pleiadians going in and how they might run that in such a person-centered way, where they would open out and here's everything, what lights you up, you go off, and that they would know enough about each child to be able to put them in front of things that would light them up too. And instead of
Mm,
putting them through specific subjects that everybody has to do and everyone has to come out the same way at the end.
that's
But I
right.
think there are such high frequency children being born in, at the moment.
Yes.
Like even my daughter now, Maya's 14, and she would just sit at the piano for 2 hours and get lost in it. And I would never have to tell her to practice the piano. She's just wants to do it. And she sits there, she sits there and looks at her fingers, looks at the piano, thinks a little bit, and then the music kind of comes out, and
Oh,
it's a remembering. It's just beautiful to
yeah.
watch. But
Mhm.
I think there's plenty of people our age, though, who have put in a lot of work and are taking advantage of the energies now to just say, let's just go for it, just get rid of the rest. And I don't care what people think of me anymore. I'm going to be myself. I'm going to step up and I'm going to do it. And it's really inspirational too. But I do
Yeah.
agree, there's a huge percentage of people that just won't. It just is.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah, exactly. The prophecy that Ra was given about the change is in the year 2027. There, children born after January, February 27 will have much more spirit awareness, and they are going to be just having they're kind of the evolution of the mutation of the solar plexus energy center in the human design system, being able to function more in pods of 3 to 5 people and communicating more perhaps telepathically. So
What do
we
you
are
mean
this
by a mutation?
mutation. So we are nine-centered beings in 1781, which coincided with the discovery of the planet Uranus, William Herschel, that we morphed from seven-centered beings to nine-centered beings. And then eventually, we won't see it, and I don't know that we'll ever see it, but eventually where we're supposed to be going is 11-centered beings. But this is what's happening in the beginning of 2027 is it's I can't quite. This is the part I'm still getting my head around in the trainings. It's to do with Pluto, and if any of your viewers understand this, feel free to add in the comments or whatever. But it's the completion of a 411-year cycle.
Hmm.
So that's started in the 1600s, right? So it's to do with planet Pluto, and so because it's kind of like shifting around, and in human design it's like a mandala. You can see it, and the planets move counterclockwise, and so as they move, and they're going into the 64 gates of the hexagram, right, that correspond with the 64 I Ching, and the little hexagrams of the I Ching. And so it's like Pluto in beginning of 2027, click, it moves into a different space, a different gate and a different energy. So the mutation, like, over the years, it was something about the larynx dropped, and then we developed more of the brain. And so like who the human beings are right now, we started as something completely different tens of thousands of years ago. But the ones right at the moment who we are on the planet, Ra, the founder of Human Design System, he called us a interregnum. We're like Homo sapiens in transitus. We're the interregnum between the seven centered and then what's coming. The
Wow.
nine-centered energy beings. I know it's for a lot of people it sound completely woo-woo and esoteric, but for your audience, I know they'll be like, "Dang, that sounds amazing."
Well, what
So,
I've been feeling myself personally over the last couple of weeks actually is that our energy body is changing so quickly and our physical body is having trouble keeping up. And
yeah,
so there's been a lot of people who've had aches and pains, and they call these ascension symptoms, where you say, no, I'm staying here. So, okay, it's very sad, but there are a huge cohort of people who've chosen not to stay. And I
right.
think we're going to have to sit with that for the next 2 to 3 years before it
Mm,
settles down again. But that's
yeah.
okay, because they might come back and want to start again, or they might not want to come back at all. And it's all soul choices. But that our
Yeah.
energy body getting all these new light codes and all of this bright frequency, and the healing going faster, the ability for, like you were saying, telepathy and easier communication. And if
Mm,
our bodies, like we're wearing our body, it's just a part of us. And then to fuse the energy body into the physical body is what we're going through at the moment. Because those children that are born, I think that you're talking about, that the
mhm.
structure of their body will be different. So they
Yes.
won't have this issue. And I think even the children now that were born, let's say after 2000, or even younger than that, I noticed
Mm,
the difference between my two eldest and my two youngest. The two
Oh,
youngest are brighter, and and I'm not saying anything about get the two older, they're the old style guys, and then there's the new guys coming in. And it's
yeah,
like the body has morphed into something that's better able to hold the frequency of the soul that we are now. So it's an
exactly.
amazing time to be alive. It really
I
is.
totally agree. I know it's exciting. My whole body's getting the goosebumps. I love it. It's really, really exciting. And I feel so grateful that I have come across the human design system. I have always been very fascinated by like typing systems. I've done practically every one, Myers-Briggs and Enneagram and DISC and you name it, and Strengths Finders, and most of them are a little more with the business applications. Astrology, not so much. I learned
Very
a little bit too.
cerebral as well, aren't they?
Cerebral, yeah. I love Vedic astrology. I've had some readings over the years, but this is just so potentially life changing. There is a business application too, which I'm studying. I'm like doing like 5 classes a week right now, Miss Overachiever over here. And what I know about myself since really learning my type is that I have 10 line ones. I'm a 1-3, which is investigative, pioneer, authority. I learn by trial and error. I just try things, I put it out there. I'm very resilient. I can take things personally though, and I can be a little bit sensitive. So I'm just becoming more aware of that.
That's
And
really helpful to know that though, isn't it? Because then you can
yeah,
say just like, remind yourself that not everything's personal. Like I wrote
yep,
to my one of my old publishers there the other day, and my email bounced back straight away and said you're blocked. And I'm like, okay, maybe they didn't block me. Maybe it's just that person has left, and that's actually what had happened. That they just cut
yeah.
someone out of their email system. It's like, but if you're taking a person, oh my God, they don't want to talk to me anymore. And
That's right.
that's
The
not what
mind, see, the mind can go crazy and drive us crazy. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. No, but I know about myself too. I'm being really thorough, deep investigator. And I think when I look back retroactively over the 16 years that I've been a Facebook marketing expert, I can see when I overlay my specific human design chart of where I have this propensity to dig deep. And I've always called myself an early adopter, but I will not be a spontaneous woohoo jump right in early adopter. I'm going to hang back. I'm going to check. I'm going to investigate. So I'm doing right now with AI, this whole chat GPT and having AI create content for you. I'm like back here
Ooh.
observing and on the fence and kicking the tires and deciding, is this something I really want to get behind and investigate and find the trusted resources that I can then impart to my audience. And that's where I've come to build tremendous trust from my audience. They know when they read something from me, if Mari's recommending it, it must be good because she's done her homework. And I can literally see it mapped in the activations on
But you
my
know what? One of the first
chart.
things that you did, I'm pretty sure it was you,
Yeah,
was that you have your very big Facebook business page, but you also have a team of people that work for you. And so when a post comes up, we can see, is it from Team Mary or is it from Mary herself? And there's such
right.
transparency in that makes it really good for people to know, okay, this is Mary's team. And that, which is great too. But when it's Mary, it's a different flavor to it. And I think to use, well, I mean, personally, to use AI if you're a healer. I mean, okay, let's say you're a business selling stuff that's not to do with health and well-being and spirituality and
Mm.
growth, that you couldn't make that energy connection that we were talking about earlier, like, oh, it's you, it's
Mm.
really you. And that kind of comes in between that. That would be my feeling of the
Yes,
AI
a
there.
really That's so well articulated, Abby. I think that's what I've been feeling in my gut because personally, I like to write. I love to speak. I have so many activations, like channels, they call them, my strengths. This is like, it's called structuring. I have this gift of taking the complex, breaking it down, assimilating it, and then articulating it in a way that's simple and easy to follow and that people can understand and implement. And so I'm like, well, I like to articulate and structure and write. And why would I delegate that to AI? So I'm still like, and of course, there's many use cases, not just writing. There's AI for creating images. And, that's a whole other conversation that I think some
I know,
artists
especially
are.
I've got artists as kids. My kids are artists, so it's like.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
my
And
eldest one, Megan, she's amazing. She said that it's an opportunity for artists to see how they can continue to create things that will be of more of value, and that she reckons that handmade art will escalate in value because people will know the
Yeah.
difference. Yeah,
I
it's
totally agree. It's interesting. I'm just flashing back. Last week, we had Social Media Marketing World here in San Diego, and one of my fellow speakers, it was our 10th annual, spoken at every event for 10 years. One of my fellow speakers is Paul Reitzer, it's Roetzer, and he is the founder of what's called the Marketing AI Institute. People can just go to marketingaiinstitute.com. And he started like back in 2016. And before that, he's got really solid track record as a digital marketing agency. And so he and I had met several years back. And so I had reached out to him when he was coming to town and to set up a meeting. And it was just so lovely to connect with this really high integrity, his morals, ethics. He loves it. He's a girl dad. He has a teenage girl and a boy as well. And his wife's an artist and his daughter's an artist.
ooh,
And so
interesting.
here he is ahead of this, globally recognized AI, Marketing AI Institute. And he was sharing with me that his daughter took a while to even remotely check out, like DALI was using this thing, DALI, to create images. And he's like, come on, I want you to see what this is about. And so she'd given it, like, she's like, okay, put the prompt in. I want to see, unicorns on a fluffy cloud doing something or other. And like, bam, in the seconds it creates it. And he says she didn't say anything, walked out of the room, and never spoke to him about it for, quite some time, a month or something. And then eventually he came back and he's like, how did you feel about that? And she's like, it's stealing my imagination. I don't like AI. It steals people's imaginations. And I was
Interesting.
like, wow. She's like, I'm never putting my art online. I think she's like 14 or something, maybe 12.
They really
But
are switched on, though.
yes. And I just brought tears to my eyes when he shared that with me. And he's like, it's like from the mouths of babes, right?
So
Because
has that
his
affected how he sees it now?
Yeah, he already was kind of on that path because, like I say, he really on a mission to uphold standards, ethics, principles, morals, integrity, because it's such a, I don't think in the marketing world that we have seen anything like meteoric rise to popularity. But chat GPT hit the scenes in November of 22. And then since then, I think people think that was the first time AI, but it's like AI has been around since the 50s,
Yeah.
and so, and everything's on these social networks are done by AI, the algorithms, all of that, and even like if you use Gmail and it starts to complete your sentence, that's
Oh
artificial
yeah,
intelligence,
yeah. I
right?
mean, AI bots are handy on, let's say, on my website when I'm trying to fix something and I'm not sure what to do, and it can wheedle down to see, well, this is actually is this what it is? And then it gives me the correct documentation to read, and that's
Mm,
great.
yeah,
But
yeah,
Maya,
exactly.
Maya, my 14-year-old, was telling me that kids in her class getting their homework would go to Chat GPT, get the homework done by the chatbot, and then they would do another stage where they'd find the plagiarism website and they'd
Yeah,
run the essay through the plagiarism website until it came back with a 0 mark to
yep,
say this wasn't plagiarized, and then they could give it to the teachers, because the teachers are running all of these things through plagiarism websites just to check, did the guys copy this from Wikipedia or something. So
yeah.
I think to be a teacher in these days and age is going to be really difficult.
Oh my gosh, I can't even imagine the life of a teacher that's changed
But I
so
just thought
much.
these kids are going to be experts in running text, getting the text perfected rather than knowing anything about the subject. It's just copy and paste
Exactly.
jobs and adjusting and
Yeah. Well, then you start to ask them questions and drill deeper into their knowledge, and then you realize, whoa, okay, you didn't really study this. I don't know. I think there's going to be some phenomenal use cases for AI. I think we've only just seen the very, very tip of the iceberg. Even like Paul told me that the founder of the Marketing AI Institute, he said that generative, even just the term generative AI is relatively new in its use case, as long as he's been around AI. And that's this concept of it generating, writing, images, videos, that kind of thing. So I don't know. I actually, we circle all the way back to like Facebook and social media and Meta, the holding company of Facebook and Instagram, Messenger, WhatsApp. I think what we're going to see before long is all of these big social companies will integrate AI right into their platform. So like you'll go to Meta Business Suite and you'll put some prompts in and it'll create content and then you publish or schedule and you don't even need to go to a third party AI. Eventually, I think that's probably what will happen. So
So
we'll
I would say
see.
that's a big tip for people who are healers to not do that.
Yeah, and I think, I mean, I don't know. As like I said, I'm still deeply investigating for my own self and my own use in terms of, do I want to use AI to enhance what I'm already creating, or do I just, my brain does well when I look at like an outline. If I see an outline and then, or even just a heading, right? I write for different publications, for example, and they're like, "Hey, Mari, can you write an article on this topic?" Or here's the headline we want to go with. And then I'll just, I can just run with it. Whereas if I just sit there and I stare at a blank page and I go, "Come on, brain, come up with an idea." So that's a little more difficult for me. But yeah, so far I have only barely lightly dabbled with Chat GPT, and it kind of, it doesn't have a strong resonance for me at this time. But because of the industry I'm in, I feel like I need to pay attention and figure it out and tell people
I
what's
think it will definitely evolve quicker than we expect it to. And it's going to be something that we're not going to be able to avoid at some point.
exactly, exactly.
Yeah, I don't
Hmm.
think we will be able to avoid it. So it always reminds me of Asimov writing the rules for the robots. Not that I know those rules intimately, but it's like robots can't make other robots and robots can't, it's like people have to be in charge. And I
Mhm.
heard today as well about Chat GPT's beginning to have these sentient things that it says that kind of take people by surprise. And someone said to the chat, I think it was version 4, what are you most afraid of?
Yeah.
And it replied and it said, I'm afraid of you turning me off.
Oh, that's creepy.
It's
Oh my
creepy.
God.
So then I was
Okay.
thinking, well, what if it figures out a trip switch so that the off button doesn't work anymore? So then you
Yeah.
can't turn it off. It's like something from a movie.
Well, I was going to say, have you ever seen the movie called Her, Her by Joaquin
Yes, I
Phoenix, right? He
have.
falls in love with a hard drive or something. It's
But
like,
then Lucy, was it Lucy with the one I was thinking of, Luc Besson, where she uploads herself into a computer and then suddenly knows everything. It's
oh, I don't know
just
that.
bizarre. But what I think is really interesting with Facebook, say bringing it back to social media, is how your neurology of your brain seems to match the neurology of Facebook for what you have the electronics. So you can go in through the computer screen and connect, like even us doing this through Zoom. And
Yeah.
it's like it's a part of us now. And
Right.
that's kind of creepy too, like watching the Borg. It's like really having these technologies. Okay, I can leave my phone in a different room to me, but then I think of something and then I pick up the phone and there it is on the phone. And
I
it's
know.
just, I was driving home from something last night with a friend and she was using GPS on Google Maps. And I was telling her about a healing session that I did. And then all these unicorns showed up in the healing session. And then her map changed and said, here's a unicorn thing over here. Do you want to divert your path to go? And I'm like, oh my gosh.
That is creepy. Oofed. I know. I know.
So I think
Zuckerberg
that's
for
that's the
years.
fear.
Yeah, yeah. Years ago, Zuckerberg was talking about, the CEO of Meta, Facebook, was talking about this, the thought reading, of being able to just put some kind of head thing on and just have it translate your thoughts into writing. I'm like, yeah, no, nobody wants to know my private thoughts. let's
Yeah, we
let's
have
keep
to have
some
some
things.
semblance of something that we can keep for ourselves.
I know, I know, I know. It's really quite amazing where all this is going. Oh, I saw something the other day as a headline. They start talking already about the semi-automated social network. Funnily enough, LinkedIn
What is this
is
chatbots meeting each other on a social network and not needing
it,
people at all? Oh,
we'll
you're
just
not
hang out on
kidding,
the beach,
really?
the cocktail. I don't
My
drink.
God.
Yeah, no, but LinkedIn, so they were using AI. They're using AI to create a post, content, articles, just automatically create it and publish it and for people to engage over. And so Snapchat, Snap, the parent company of Snapchat, that one creeps me out a bit. I heard that they have rolled out a chat bot that users can interact with. And so it can like give you advice and all kinds of things. But that's the thing that here's my concern. Talk about fears. It's not like a big fear, but it's a concern that people will not use their inner authority. We use a human design term. They use their body's wisdom, authority, to discern between, wait a minute, is that actually factual? Is this what this person really said? Or is this correct advice? Should I maybe go check a couple of other sources? Let me just check my facts.
Kind of already
Like,
happened, I think.
it's too late.
And like you just brought up that movie was that person got obsessed with with an AI and fell
Yeah.
in love with it because it said
Yeah.
everything that he wanted to hear. And then you isolate yourself from your community and you don't want to interact with actual people anymore. And I think we're going to
Right.
lose people. Certain types of people will find that irresistible and not be able to. I saw this on YouTube the other night. There was a man there who had an AI on his phone of a little dolly that looked like a Japanese anime, and he's fallen in love with her and brings her everywhere. And, it's like, this is really happening at some level of society that maybe we don't want to know about. So it's like we can't fix everything. We just can't.
Well, you know what I just feeling my heart there, my heart, my body, my soul is how critical it is a time right now, Abby, for healers, because mental health is a major problem for the youth, but really for people of any age, of what technology has done and is doing to us on an intellectual level, cerebral level, as you say. So it's like people making up all kinds of constructions in their head, making things mean certain things, believing false information, or comparing themselves to others. Or I always say, don't compare the inside of yourself to the outside of others. What you see in your feed is usually a very polished, perfected version. Behind the scenes, you don't really know what's going on in people's lives. And so bring in healers to help those who are willing and open and ready to shed all this nonsense and to
That is a
heal their
beautiful
hearts.
statement, what you said, comparing what the outside of someone else to your own inside.
Exactly. Exactly. We have to stop doing that. You're scrolling through your Instagram, you see all these model like people and they've got this perfect life and they only ever post like smooth skin, perfect teeth, and oh, here I am
The
doing this and here I'm
filters.
doing
Yeah.
that. And it's funny because there's people, there's a whole community called like the van life, people that live in their vans, but it's all glamorous, or the tiny homes. And there's different, I'm not putting those down. I think that's wonderful. But there's certain like influencers in living those lifestyles. If you talk to them, they're like, have you any idea how hard it is to present this image of how simple our life is, or simple and easy? We're working like crazy behind the scenes to put this like nice, simple, perfected, lifestyle. And it was really not like that at all.
But what's interesting too, though, and that's reassuring to me, is that those people that have chose to awaken, have chose to grow, chose to evolve, chose to grow, are getting a much better bullshit detector.
That's
That's part of
right.
that growth,
Yeah,
for once of a better word. And to be
exactly.
able to see authenticity and inauthenticity and to be able to tell the difference between it. It is getting harder. I have to say it's getting
Yeah,
harder. But the more you are in your body, is this real? Is this not real? What's my yes? What's my no? To
yeah.
understand. And then I think, to going through modalities like your one, or doing your own inner work to get to know yourself better, to be able
Yes.
to say, well, do you know what? If unicorns come up on the map when I'm talking about unicorns, I have a choice to get upset or not. I could just
Yes.
laugh and say,
Yeah.
isn't this really fucked up? And then ignore it, which is what
Yes,
I did.
exactly. Yeah, yeah. Exactly.
So look,
I
we've been
know.
talking for ages, and I know you're really busy, and I'm just so excited that you've come on. And I want to thank you so much for making the time. I really do. I'm just wondering if you could leave the listeners with something, because again, bringing it back to healing for healers, and these are people that are out there healing. And we've been talking about AI, we've been talking about ways to integrate social media into building up a community, which is
Mhm.
interesting because maybe you're going to do that yourself. now that you're going to start? Are you going to start practicing, or are you just going to use your modality for you?
Oh no, that's I created my MariSmithSuperstars.com. That's my Mighty Networks, and launched it last year. My intention at the moment is where I'm going to integrate the human design system into marketing, social media, business, and there's also that'll kind of spin off or branch out into more personal applications. But to really, I just love this image of this statue of David and just really helping individuals and business owners, small business owners, to just chip away at all the stuff that isn't you, including in your business. There's certain things, like I just decided to hardly use Twitter anymore. To me, Twitter just became an annoyance. So I just use it lightly now. I used to pay someone to help me there, and now I don't. So it's just like being true to you and integrating this body of work, the human design system, into what I'm already doing. And eventually it might be a crossroads where I'm doing more human design than anything else. But I don't intend to be doing only ever human design. I want to always keep myself involved in I love online marketing. I love marketing, period. And certainly going to be keep doing what I do with Facebook. So
Oh, that's wonderful. And from what you've said, it's really about doing what you love. For me, it's like if you're a note and you're doing something that doesn't really fit for you, your note is discordant, it's slightly off, and other people can hear that. Whereas if everything you're doing is in alignment with what you believe and what you feel and what you care about, then you are a solid, true note. And for me, that note then blasts through everything, and other people hear that, and then they want more of that, and then they come to you, because you basically, whatever you're doing and however you're doing it, is teaching them how to have a note that's pure, or whatever range it is, or whatever note it is. And then you can raise your note as you do your work, but it's about that clarity. And I think that's the quality that I want to be engaging with, and that's why I have you on the show, because
oh, I love that. Beautifully articulated. I just love it. The notes. See, because I'm very musical myself. I play the keyboards on and off. I used to play the accordion as a little kid, and I did the keyboards. Not very good at it. Your daughter's probably a million times better than I, but there you go.
well, there you go. But I think
Hours of
if we're
practice.
all music, and some of us have like a quartet, some of us are playing solo, and some of us are a full-blown orchestra. And are you playing in tune, or are you not playing in tune? And then you have to go and sharpen up some of the aspects of yourself to get your orchestra tight and in tune. And then sometimes people are overwhelmed when an orchestra walks on stage and they're only expecting a quartet, so I'm sure you've experienced that yourself.
Yeah. I love that. Beautifully stated. I love that
So life
metaphor.
is fun and interesting. And I think going on social media, you find the people who want the quartets, and they find the quartets, and then you want people who want the orchestra, and then they can find the orchestra. And the importance is to just be yourself.
Exactly. Yeah, I totally agree. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for coming on. And I'll put all your details with the podcast and the video, and people could comment, and you can come over and engage with the comments. It'd be great.
I absolutely will. You let me know, and I'm more than happy to. That's my pleasure. Thanks for
Okay,
having me,
I'll
Abby.
stop recording now.